And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here on Tuesday, June 14th, after game 5 of the Celtics versus Warriors. Celtics losing 104-94 to Golden State. Um, Sam always says, after a loss, it's easier to talk because you can complain about stuff. I don't have anything else to complain about because it's the same shit. Like
Oh, it makes it worse.
I'm just like well, I understand, but like this podcast is gonna sound the exact same as the one that we did after game 2 or after game 3 or whenever the last time we did
Game
a
4.
podcast after. Did we do one after game 4?
Yeah, because we went through all the threes they missed.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be the same thing. I mean, they did the exact same things that they did wrong in game 4. The offense was non-existent. Jason Tatum finally picked it up a little, but Jaylen Brown decided to be the worst player on earth. It was just like you can't make it up. It's been the same story ever since the Bucks series. They turned the ball over 18 times, 22 Warriors points off of those. I guess if you want to find some sort of silver lining, which we can talk about, they played great defense on Steph Curry, like the best defense, but they wasted it
They
because
wasted it.
they just couldn't find any offense, and that's been the story of the postseason. The defense has always been fine, but the offense is the most inconsistent thing on planet Earth. So it's been impossible for them to win more than one. Have they won 3 games in a row since that? 2 games in a row since the net series? They've won two,
Yes.
but they haven't won three, right?
No, yeah, they've won 2 twice. They won 6 and 7 against Milwaukee, 4 and 5 against Miami.
Okay.
So, listen. Listen. Celtics fans everywhere have every reason to be upset today. I am upset today. Jack is upset today. However, you should not feel like they have no chance. You should be upset
What is
that
this role reversal that's going on? Because
no,
usually that's what I
no.
say when you complain.
Well, see, I always I'm still very upset that they lost game 4. I think that was a better chance for them to win than it was yesterday because listen, you had it. You were up 5 points in the fourth quarter. You might have been up more at one point, but when you really went cold, you were up 5, and then you scored like no points for the rest of the quarter. 6 points over the last 7 minutes. That's uncalled for. Uh, they came out yesterday and they said, "Hey, just in case you didn't see the last game, we'll do it again." And they were horrible again in the fourth quarter. But they really weren't ever in control in the fourth quarter. So it stings a bit less. Still annoying because they were really bad in the first half. And then they gave you hope. And then they were like, okay, we took your sleep away. Gotcha. Um, but
They did get you.
seriously, I am annoyed. You are annoyed, but it does not mean that they can't win at the very least on Thursday to force a game 7. You have to win one at a
Yeah.
time. And the same things that stuck out to me in the Milwaukee series after they lost game 5, which by the way was a more brutal loss than this one. Um, these guys, I think both Tatum and Brown had very confident answers in the post game, which is atypical
Yeah.
from those guys. I mean, it's become normal in the playoffs and they've backed it up. But, throughout the season in their careers, it's kind of been atypical. They usually are not, saying, it's like, it's more of, we know what we have to do. But like, they're like, no, we're confident. We're confident. We'll figure it out. And for whatever reason, like probably a month ago now, yeah, against Milwaukee when they were in the same situation, but game 6 was on the road, which is more daunting. I don't know what
See,
it was. Them saying things like that made me more comfortable, and I kind of feel the same way, but they have a lot of work to do, right? They've looked real bad in the last 4 of the last 5 quarters. Right? The third
yeah.
quarter they played excellent basketball. And
They're
even in the
so
second
backwards,
quarter, they
right?
weren't too bad, right? In the second
Yeah.
quarter, I was real frustrated when we came on the halftime show because I felt they played really good defense and had a good quarter and ended up losing the quarter.
Mhm.
They lost the second quarter, and when you're listening to this, it'll be Monday's game. Well, it'll always be Monday's game, but it won't be yesterday anymore. And it's just like, man, throughout the game, they failed to capitalize in the important situations, whether it was in the second quarter when they would cut it to 6 and then they got it ballooned back up to 12, or in the third quarter when they got their own lead up to 5 and then they closed the quarter and Golden State went into the fourth with a 1-point lead. Those are things that come back to bite you in the end of the game. Whether you really notice it or not, It's not typically what people remember, right? In game 4, people will remember, oh, they didn't make any shots for the last 7 minutes of game. They only scored 6 points. But they had plenty of chances throughout that game 4 to capitalize and to make their lead bigger than 7 points, and they never did.
Yes.
And that was
Yes.
part of the reason why they ended up losing that game. They have failed on a larger scale to step on the throat of opposing teams, and they have done it on a smaller scale in individual games. And do I think it's a given that they're going to lose the next game? No, but there is a feel, which I have come out, already and kind of said I'm on the opposite end of. But there is a feel that you're Cinderella and the clock has struck midnight. Your luck has run out. You are no longer won every game after a loss, right? You finally lost back-to-back games. There are all kinds of things that people are riding on that kind of no longer stand. And I'll stop talking. I've been going for a while.
No, I mean, I'll say this. I'm not with everything the Celtics have done this season, it'd be stupid to give up on this team, right? They've battled back from being a 500 team out of the play-in to now in the NBA Finals. They were down 3-2 against Milwaukee. They came back. They threw a game in Boston against Miami, and then they came back and won Game 6. I mean, they swept Brooklyn, but all of those games were close. They battled through
Mhm.
that series as well. And so there's a world where they come out, they win game 6, they feel confident, they go on the road where they've been good this postseason, and they win again, and they win the finals, and this conversation is useless. But this is the least confident I've been in this team in a long time, like since they were 500, I would say.
Well, of course, they're playing a real team.
Yes, and this
Milwaukee was
isn't
a real team, to their credit, and
Miami
the
was a
Celtics
real
were in the
team
same.
too. I'm
No,
not
no, no, no,
allowing
no,
this
no, 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 no,
conversation.
no.
Yes,
Miami
yes.
sucks, dog. And
I'm
and
not
and
allowing that
maybe not in the
conversation.
grand scheme of things throughout the regular season they were good, but they were bad in that playoff series. Everybody not named Jimmy Butler for the most part was bad. They were bad, and you can't even argue with it. All those guys sucked. Half these guys, Struess, known as a shooter, dude was horrible in that series. All he's supposed to do is shoot, and he couldn't shoot. Lowry, horrible throughout the series. Bam, no show in half the games. Like that series had no business being 7 games. They were far and away better than Miami throughout that series, and the only reason it went 7 games is because of how bad the Celtics were and how they made things more difficult on themselves.
And that's exactly regardless, I mean, we can sit here and debate whether or not Miami's a good team. We've disagreed on that for about 9 months now. Um, that's why I'm not confident anymore. And again, I'm not saying like I'm giving up. This isn't me throwing in the towel. I'm still going to believe in this team, and I'm still going to, root for this team and hope that they can pull this out because everything they've done shows me they're resilient and they're fully capable of winning when they're at their best. But in terms of my personal confidence levels, it's at an all-time low, and I don't think it's ridiculous to say that. They've played consistently inconsistent for the entire postseason. They're averaging 12 turnovers in their wins and 17 in their losses. They are 13 and 2 when they have less than 16 turnovers. I mean, talk about like the lowest bar you could possibly set for a team. You're 13 and 2 when you don't have a ridiculous amount of turnovers, and they're 1 and 7 when they have more than like. How is that a stat? How is that the bar? How is 16 turnovers a bar? What was the average turnovers in the NBA this year? Do you know?
Yeah, you have it right off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I don't know. I
While
was
you look
asking
it
if you
up,
wanted to take a guess. Take a guess. What do we think the average turnovers was in the regular season for a
14,
team? Average
14.
turnovers in a game. A- Average was around maybe 14, but the highest
Mm.
was 16.5. That was the most turnovers, and second was 14.9. So all the Celtics have to do is not be the worst team in basketball, and they win the game,
What have
basically.
I
And that
been
was the
telling you for 2 weeks, man?
that was the Houston Rockets, by the way, who averaged 16.5 turnovers. So all the Celtics have to do to win a playoff game effectively is not be the Rockets, and they win the playoff game. Like that is the lowest bar you could possibly set. And again, this isn't me giving up on the team because they have been resilient and they've showed they can play without turning it over. But this is ridiculous, and it's this it the part that gets to me the most is it's the same turnovers. It's the exact same plays. It's Tatum making a lazy pass. It's Jalen Brown driving into traffic without a plan. It's Marcus Smart trying to make a pass that he probably can make, but there's a disconnect. It's Al Horford, I guess, dribbling up the court and just handing the ball to the Warriors. That was
He
a
hasn't
joke
been
because
too
that's what he
bad.
did. That was a joke, but You know exactly what I'm saying. It's them rushing into the offense, making sloppy passes, and trying to do too much. And I don't understand why they continue to do that because you know Ime Udoka like is on their ass about it. He's literally said to them, we saw the quote, "Don't play like assholes," right?
Yeah.
And they just continue to do it. So I'm baffled. And it's just I'm gonna keep saying it because it's entertaining to me to say, just don't be the Houston Rockets and you win the championship effectively, right? Like that's ridiculous. And they're just playing like the Rockets.
Well, steal my thunder, why don't you? I mean, I've been saying for weeks,
I know you
all
have.
they
I know
have to
you have.
do.
I didn't plan the quote. It just
No,
backed you
no,
up
you
really
did not.
well.
But seriously, I've said it on the pregame show. I've said it on here. I first said it to Ian Steele with ABC6. Him and Nick Coit were nice enough to get me credentialed to go to Game 3 with them of the last series, and so I could kind of get a feel for what it's like to do that job, which I forever will appreciate. I just said to him, I said, all they have to do to win these games is not be the absolute worst, and they just continue to do it.
Be the
Just
absolute
and
worst.
if you really want like the most like glaring example, look at the last two fourth quarters and also look at the free throws. That's it. They missed 10 free throws yesterday. They lost by 10. It was really more than 10 because garbage time. But even regardless of, the difference, if you're making 10 free throws more than you did
Oh,
yesterday, that's a game.
I know, dude, I keep forgetting about the free throws just
I
because of
forgot
everything
about it
else they've
after the
done, but
last
it
game, but I
I
remembered
know.
yesterday. Tatum missed both free throws twice yesterday. What is going on? And it's not often I can sit here and be like, yeah, I could do that. I can make free throws, man. I'll go out there and make free throws.
I know. That's always the argument.
I
It's
I
hard for
can
me to
do it. I can
fight
make free
against it.
throws.
It's baffling that the things killing the Celtics are things completely under their own control, which is ironic because the things that aren't completely under their control, they're doing a great job at, right? They're defending Stephen Curry at an all-time level. Like that was the best defense they've played on Stephen Curry all series. All
Yeah.
series. It was phenomenal. And I'm gonna write about it later today if I can find the time, hopefully, knock on wood. But they wasted it, right? Like Marcus Smart, Derek White did a phenomenal job of chasing him off the line. Al Horford, Robert Williams, press stop. Robert Williams did a great job of coming up. Jason Tatum chased him around. He got nothing. That was I don't know the exact stat, but that was the first. Oh yeah, I think that was the first playoff game he's ever played in where he didn't hit a three, and the Celtics lost by 10. And it
Yeah.
wasn't really 10, but that's what the final box score says. So that's what I'm going with because they didn't deserve to win that game at all. They
No.
did not deserve to win it. They played like shit. Maybe they deserved to someone win some of those Miami games, but they blew it. The way I see it, and I know your argument is against Miami, which is fine. If the Celtics play like that at any point throughout the game and it costs them, they don't deserve to win the game. Like because they cost themselves. None of the games the Celtics lost this postseason, and if I'm forgetting one off the top of my head, it's just because I'm ranting. It's not like they've deserved to win it and they lost. They blew them themselves. They have
Mm,
actively fought
yeah.
against themselves, right?
The
Like
only
it's
one
not.
The
Yeah,
only
go
one
ahead.
I can think of is game 3 against Milwaukee. They were kind of unlucky. Had a couple threes like halfway down to ice the game in the closing minute. But like even then, like you got yourself down, like things like that. But I I stand by this. When they lose and I complain about it and say they should have won, I don't say they deserve to win. I said they should have won. I think when they lose, they deserve it. They deserve to lose the last two games. They were bad. They were bad down the stretch. They choked them away, especially the game 4. I mean, you had a golden opportunity to go up 3-1 in the finals. Imagine the amount of money I could have put on the Warriors to make myself feel better about it. And they cost me that. They cost me insurance. And here I am as a fan now, preparing to watch 2 elimination games, hopefully. It's horrible. It's so bad. They continue to be careless. They continue to be sloppy on offense down the stretch. Everything they take down the stretch is tough, fallaways. Nothing's easy, and everything starts to come easy on the other end for the Warriors. It's just wholeheartedly frustrating to watch. And it sucked yesterday because I'm one of the biggest Marcus fans in all the land. And I think he had a good game for the most part. But at the beginning of the fourth quarter, he lost his cool. He got the tech, then he turned the ball over with the offensive foul. Whether you think it should have been a foul or not, it really doesn't matter. That's what they called. And you can complain about the officials all you want on Twitter today. The Celtics had no business.
Well,
The officials had no real impact on the outcome of that game. And you can say it all you want. You can say that opening stretch of the fourth quarter was a momentum swing, sure. But I mean, listen, if you don't play like the absolute worst in the first half and you don't play like the absolute worst in the fourth quarter, you win that game. You're not asking a lot by saying that. I'm not saying the Celtics should have made every single one of the first 12 threes they missed yesterday. Or they should have had a
Yeah.
perfect fourth quarter like they did in game 1. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying maybe make 4 of the first 12 threes, right? And maybe make 7 shots in the fourth quarter instead of 3. Like, it's not that
Or
much to ask. That's the
I
crazy part.
maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe you said this and I'm deaf. Or you just make a couple free throws. You don't
Yeah, you
miss
missed 10
90.
free throws yesterday. That one always slips just because, like, it's not live
Uh,
action and like it's frustrating for a second, and then like they have to play again. But oh my gosh, like the amount of things they have done to shoot themselves in the foot throughout this spring is enough to take years. I wonder if they've killed people. Like people are having heart attacks over this
no,
team.
no,
Oh, I'm
no.
sure they are. If I was old, I
Uh,
might. I'm serious. If I was old, it would have serious effects on my health. I mean, it's why you gotta eat right and stay in shape and things. You make sure your heart's healthy, right? They
it's
they would give you a
just
heart attack. This team.
I all I can think about, I just tweeted it because it was baffling to me. All I can keep thinking about is the Houston Rockets stat. Like it literally, the Celtics just have to be better than the Houston Rockets and they win the championship, and they can't do that. That's so mind-numbingly painful. Like 16 turnovers is the bar. 16. Like how is that the bar? That makes absolutely zero sense. They averaged 13.6 in the regular season. And they're at like I just what are they averaging in the postseason? Are they averaging 16? That would surprise me.
Probably
It can't
not
be
because
that
they've
bad.
won a bunch of games.
14-3. They're averaging 14.3.
Which
It's
in the grand
crazy.
scheme of things isn't bad, but in the finals, it's definitely significantly higher. It was 16 the last time I
I'll
looked,
check
and
the
I think that was
finals.
after game 3.
In the finals, it's 15.6.
Okay. Well,
That's that would be second most in the regular season. I don't get it. When's the last time the Celtics averaged that many turnovers? And if it was like last year, then maybe I'll sound like an idiot, but it's crazy that they can keep doing it. And like I said, it's the same turnovers. It's not like they're just getting unlucky. Warriors are stripping them, and the Warriors are playing good defense. Like this isn't me taking away from that, but the large majority of Boston's turnovers has been just them throwing the ball away, and that's the most painful part. Jason Tatum had 4 turnovers last night. When we're recording this, Jalen Brown had 5, Marcus Smart had 4, and that's all you need, right? That's what right there. That's 13 for 2 and 3
mhm.
players. It's just it's baffling to watch. And I don't like I said when I started the show, I don't really know what else to say about it. Like it's just bad, and us complaining about it isn't going to change it. It's just crazy that we've been talking about it for a month and a half at this point, and it's still happening the same exact way. I don't understand how they haven't realized that all they have to do to win is not play like idiots. Like we're saying it, you've said it for months. I just called them the Houston Rockets, and they still haven't realized it. And I understand they can be confident, and I'm glad they're confident. And I will keep saying it. I'm not going to give up on the team until they lose 4 games in a series. But man, is it frustrating watching them hand the ball to the Golden State Warriors every 2 seconds. It's just it's impossible to explain for me at this point. Like I don't even like I have no other explanation. Like my explanation is don't do it. They stop. Like it's like they're like a golden retriever. I'm like, drop it, stop, don't stop turning the ball over. Like it's just not gonna happen at this point. So we all we can do is hope that one of two things happens for the next 2 games. They either have to not turn the ball over 16 times, not meet the lowest bar that could possibly be set for a playoff team, or they just stop missing from 3, which is possible. We've seen them do it before because if they get hot from 3, the turnovers eventually become a little bit less important.
It's
And
not even like
yeah,
threes. It's just other simple things. It's
I know. No,
it's
I mean
making free throws. It's getting better looks inside
layups,
or
layups, make
yeah,
your layups.
it's not even like that much we're not asking for crazy stuff. It's not it's I said it earlier, it's not like we're saying, okay, you need to repeat the fourth quarter you had in game 1 and then also, make all the threes you missed in game 5 in the first half, like all 12 of them. No.
Brutal.
It's so simple and it just it is mind-boggling how they continue to get in their own way. And Tatum even came out and said, "We're not doing this on purpose, we swear," which is funny. I'm glad he acknowledges it.
Yeah.
But from, our standpoint, it's like, what the hell's going on here? And this is like another thing that like makes it worse is is it great that they're in the finals? Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And if you really want to, oh, you should look at it as a whole and they were 500 or below 500 in January. Yeah, great. Cool. They're in the finals now. And you know what? They've had at least game 4. You really could have won game 5 too if you weren't horrible. But you should have won game 4 and you didn't. You should have been up 3-1, and you should be in prime position to hang a banner or not hang it, but win it at home on Thursday. But no, you lost the last 2 games in like disaster fashion. You didn't show up in either of the fourth quarters. And now you have to fight for your life in a game 6 at home where you haven't been particularly great all postseason. And then you have to go win at Golden State where they've only lost once. Granted, it was to you, and you've been pretty good on the road.
That is good.
However, like listen to the difference in those two situations. Just based on again, not being the absolute worst in 2 fourth quarters. How different it could be. It's just
Yeah.
it's so frustrating and it makes it less the whole situation less sweet. If they got to the finals and right from the jump you could tell they were outmatched and you were like, all right, like this truly is as far as they could have gone this year and it's whatever. But you have shown that you can compete with this Golden State team and you should have won at least one more game than you have right now. I mean, the series could be over if you just executed down the stretch. You could have won. Could be over the other way too. But oh, is it frustrating? It's frustrating. It's like when I was younger and like I'd be like to my parents, why are you not happy with certain grades? And they were like, if you were a C student, we'd be happy with C's, but you're not. You can
Yeah.
do better than
That's
that.
that is the argument. Yeah.
And if the Celtics were C students, we'd be all fine with it. We'd be like, oh, cool, man. Like, great. Even before the season, before they were horrible, before they were the absolute worst for 3 months, I felt that they would have a good season. Did I think they would go this far? Maybe not. But I thought they would at least compete and they'd maybe get to the conference finals with the team they had at the beginning of the year. And now you've put it together and you've showed everyone you can kick ass and dominate. You went what 31-9 or something like over the last 40 games, something crazy like that. And now all of a sudden you can't play anymore. You can't close games, which you haven't been good at all season. In fairness, they have not been good at close games. Oh, it's just
No.
it's frustrating to watch.
And I'll say this, I know you don't love doing this. You have to credit Golden State. Like they've done well, they've played great. They like have deservedly won these games because the Celtics have presented them the opportunity and they handed it to them. It's not like and this isn't me admitting the Heat are a bad team. It's just me saying that the Warriors are a better team than the Heat. Like I understand what you're saying that the Celtics looked like the better team for the majority of that Heat series, if not the entire one. But this one, it's very clear that there is a like very top-notch team in front of you and you cannot make any mistakes. And they're making mistake after mistake and they're still in it, right? It's 3-2. It's not series isn't over. Like I'll put it this way. If they had won, you know, game I'm trying to think in my head before I talk. If they went up 3-1 and then Golden State won to go up 3-2, I feel like a lot of people would feel differently. You know what I'm saying? They're down 3-2. I'm getting all jumbled up. My point is the fashion that they have lost makes it feel like they're in a bigger hole than they are, right?
Yeah,
Because they've
because you
shown they can
compare
compete.
it to what it could
That
be.
last analogy I just said doesn't make any sense. I was getting confused in my own head. My point is they've shown the ability to compete, but the fact that they have crumbled in the epic fashion that they have makes it feel a lot worse than it is, and rightfully so, because they haven't shown the ability to be consistent. But all it takes for the Celtics to win the finals is 2 solid games, and we've seen them put those together in a row, 2 in a row. We have in the past. So it's not impossible they can do it again, but the fact that they've played just below the lowest bar of the Houston Rockets consistently makes it feel like they're in like an insurmountable hole, which they're not. Is the point I've been trying to stumble into here that I've just can't put the words together. So I'm not, gonna say they're done, but I am saying, which I said at the start, this is the least confident I've been, and I hope they prove me wrong. And I would love nothing more than a 15-point victory in Boston on Thursday. That would be amazing, and I'd feel well. You laugh, but it's very possible because they've done it so many
No,
times
I'm
before.
laughing because I say that all the time. I'm like, like I
I
really would like
know,
to
I
just
know
enjoy a
you do.
game and like not have to stress. And yeah, I mean, listen, you did it in game 3. You can do
Yeah.
it. You played a great 7 quarters at home.
Mhm.
The last one screwed you.
That it
It,
did.
I mean, listen, they have been good at home in this series. It's just listen, you really were again the absolute worst for the fourth quarter, and it cost you. It keeps coming back to that. It's not
I
even
know.
like they were kind of
Uh,
bad or they were average. They scored 6 points in the last 7 minutes of the game. They made 2 shots. And also, listen, I'm not saying it's going to make a difference in that situation. However, I think those 6 points are a little bit more valuable if you make 3 twos instead of 2 threes. And I'll tell you why. Is
which 6
because
points? What are we referencing?
in the last 7 minutes of game 4,
Oh, okay, yes.
we've had this conversation, I think, with John Corrales. We were talking to him because it was when Tatum was real bad from 3. He missed like 20 in a
Yes.
row or something, and I was like, he
Yeah,
needs to just
yeah,
stop.
yeah.
And like we got into talking about like analytics and like if you make 1 of 3 from 3 or something, it's like you have to make significantly less threes to get the same amount of points you would if you made like way more twos.
Of course, yeah. It's math.
But I just think that prevents Golden State. It doesn't prevent it in that
No, I know what you're
situation.
saying.
But
It
if
stops
you're
the momentum.
scoring
You get more
exactly, if
buckets,
you're
yes.
scoring on more possessions, and this goes back to me saying on the last show and complaining that they took 7 straight threes. If you're able to just get baskets, even if you score the same amount of points, it seems to make it harder to go on a run if you are scoring more times,
Of
even if
course,
it's
because
this same value.
they
They
can't grab
can't
a
run off a
rebound and run.
rebound.
Exactly.
You get set. Like there is value to that. It's
Absolutely.
unrelated, and does it change game 4 if they make 3 shots instead of 2? Probably not. But in I don't know, it's something that trickled into my head because I was like, they really only made 2 shots in 7 minutes. That's really pathetic.
It's brutal. It was brutal. Also, how's your boy Jordan Poole doing? I know you're not a fan of him. And
No, I really like him. He's sucked for the most part. He's made like 2 really long
that
threes.
one momentum 3 though, that that was a
I
gut
knew it was gonna
wrencher.
as
I
soon
know.
as they pressed up on Wiggins, I knew they were gonna get a 3. Because there
Why
was
did
way
they
too
do
much
that?
there was
Why
just too
did they
much
press up on
time.
Wiggins? What like and again, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because the Celtics played poorly enough where that 1-3 didn't matter, but why did they press up on Wiggins? What like for what reason? Like you saw the guy ahead. Just Jordan Poole, man. Yeah,
Dude,
my
he's been
buddy
really bad. He's been bad.
Cohn.
He doesn't play defense, and he tries to do far too much on offense. Once in a while, he makes a crazy shot like he did in, those last 2 home games for Golden
He's 2
State
for 2 on buzzer beating third quarter threes this
that
series. Fun
shouldn't have
fact.
gotten but, like, there's other possessions where he dribbles for, like, 15 seconds and then shoots an air ball, and it's the greatest. Like, in that 3rd quarter before he made that, he had a couple of those, and he came out in the 4th quarter and airballed right off rip. Like, fine, dude, let that guy play more minutes. And I'm not backing down from thinking like he's not that good. He's really not. He's a good fit on that team. He's really great, like placeholder for
He's
Curry when he
very
goes
good.
to the bench.
He's gonna be an all-star.
He
He's a
hasn't
very
been
good
good in this
player.
series,
No, he's had a bad series,
and
but
that's
he's
how I
not.
determine if players are good. For those of you that don't always listen to this show, is if I don't watch all kinds of NBA games. I watch all the Celtics games. So when I see them play the Celtics, I'm like, this guy's good. This guy's not, and I stick to it. Like Levine, I think that guy sucks. He sucks. He
Levine
sucks.
sucks.
They had a better team around him this year, and he still sucked.
Levine did not suck. He was an
Really?
all-star.
How well did they do this year?
Sam,
They
this is
went far,
just
didn't they?
all right. Your definition of suck is not a
It's a
championship
high
winner.
standard.
It's a
It's
ridiculous
not a
standard.
championship.
He's
It's
not.
being able to actually contribute to
He made
winning.
the playoffs. He did. He made the playoffs.
Dude, who cares?
So
Congrats, you made the playoffs when over
okay,
half
okay,
the
okay,
league,
okay.
over
I'm not.
66%
No,
of the
no,
league
no,
gets a
no.
chance to make the playoffs with the play-in.
I'm not. This is not
Even
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 remotely
without the
close to
play-in,
what
over
we're getting
half the
to.
league makes the playoffs.
I'm not having this argument right now because it's pointless and it's ridiculous. Um, moving on. I mean, I wanted to talk about Steph Curry more in the defense, but in turn, Andrew Wiggins was ridiculous
Yeah,
in
I've had
Game
enough of that
5.
too. He was good in game 4 too. He had 17 and
He's,
14
I
or
mean, he's playing
17 and
great.
16, something crazy like that. Yeah,
He's playing
he has no
great.
business playing this good. It's starting to get really annoying.
It's crazy. I mean, he's
This
having a
is
phenomenal
approaching like
series.
Middleton-ish Smith, like, all right, like let's all calm down a minute. You know, cut it out. This is uncalled for. If Curry didn't like have the crazy game 4, Wiggins could be the finals MVP.
I think no, I was gonna say I think he could be, but he definitely can't.
He
If
can't.
the
Curry's
Warriors
been
win, Steph
kind
wins.
of
But
consistent
he's been the
and
second
he's
best
been
player on their
yeah.
team. And it's not like he's been like the second best player and there's a huge gap. Like he's been very, very good. Like he's scoring well, he's rebounding well. His defense is severely underappreciated. Like he's making life hell for Jason Tatum. Even though Tatum should still be making these looks because he is Jason Tatum. But I mean, Wiggins deserves a ton of credit. He's played phenomenal. Draymond Green, unfortunately, figured it out a little bit, at least offensively. In game 5, he was better than usual. I did want to talk about the refs briefly, not from the perspective of they cost the Celtics the game because they very clearly didn't, but from the perspective of that 2-minute stretch was absolutely horrendous. Like even like Warriors fans, like that was awful. Like I was seeing neutral fans on Twitter saying, "What the fuck is going on?" Right? Because like I'm trying to think of where it started. Like, excuse me,
I think
even dating
the first hat
going
to fall was Grant getting called for a trip on Gary
That's what I was gonna
Payton.
say. That didn't happen. Like, Gary
Mhm.
Payton tripped over himself. There was Ime Udoka getting called for the weakest tech I've ever
Mhm.
seen in a game, like, even like, regardless of postseason or regular season. Like, that was a terrible tech for a guy that, from what I've seen, pretty much defends the notion of stop complaining, just play through it, right? Like, that's generally his thought process. So it was whack to see him get a tech for that.
Smart's tech looked weak too.
Smart, he you see what happened, right? He was talking to his teammate. He was talking to, like,
I didn't
Tatum or Brown.
I didn't see that close, but even like what I saw, like if he was talking to the ref, he didn't like look like he was even screaming at him. Like
No, he turned to Mark Davis and he goes, "I was talking to my teammates. Like, what are we doing here?" Like, there was a useless tech, and then Marcus got like the back to back of Marcus not getting the push off call on Clay, which was, I mean, very clearly a chicken wing elbow. Which, if you want to call it a foul or not a foul, that's the point I'm gonna get to. Then they call Marcus Smart for the foul where Jordan Poole hugged his arm. Like it was just so backwards. Like they that was so very clearly a one-sided exchange there. And then Marcus Smart also got a tech after, not even after the Celtics like committed a foul. Like the Warriors committed a foul and Marcus got a tech. It was just a ridiculous sequence of
yeah.
events. And then even the Udoka tech, the other refs didn't even realize that he got a tech because they weren't even like setting up for the free throw. Like that's how weak it was. It was just such a weird couple minutes of exchange and then dating back to the Grant thing in the Udoka tech. It was just terrible officiating in that sense. And again, not the reason the Celtics lost, but that one little patch of just awfulness was enough to leave a stench.
It's just it's interesting to watch. It's frustrating at times. Celtics didn't do themselves any favors, but just going back to the text, seeing the way Draymond has talked to the refs throughout this series and screamed at people and things like that, and he's got what, one tech?
I mean, dude literally ran into the Celtics bench and didn't get a tech.
That wasn't a tech. And the
M-
game was over.
If Marcus Smart did that to the Warriors, that was tech. 100%. He would have gotten a tech. Million percent.
If they did, it shouldn't have been a tech. To me, that's not a tech.
But
I know what
regardless
you're
of if he would
saying.
have, if Marcus had done that and ran into the Warriors bench at that moment of the game, he would have gotten a tech. You can't convince me otherwise. And regardless of whether you think he would have or not, from the way the game was being called, he would have gotten a tech. It's like going back to the first game of him saying, "I get treated different." That's it, right? Him getting to walk and follow Jason Tatum into the bench and stare him down. You can't just walk into the
Well,
opposing
he's
team's
also
bench.
fouled out of 2 games.
I
3
don't
games.
Yeah, because he's hacking. What is that argument? He's fouling. All of them
Well,
have
he's
been
not getting away
fouls.
with, like, murder. Well, game 2 he got away with murder.
Yeah, yes, he did.
But like he's not like consistently like not getting fouls. I mean, he's fouled out 3 times. Fouled out three
Because he
times. Like
deserves to foul out.
it's true, but like there you go. Like he
I'm just
deserves to
saying
foul out. Should he foul out
foul
quicker? Maybe, right? But
fouls
like
and techs are different in my perspective. Because
yeah, because texts are subjective. You decide what's a tech in your head. There's no like, okay, if a player does this exact thing, then it's a tech, unless it's like defensive 3 seconds
my
or
point
too many
is
guys on the floor or
Ime Udoka
something
talking
like
to the
that.
refs for a couple seconds too long, and Marcus Smart talking to his teammates and the refs getting mad at him were enough to get a tech, but Draymond Green following Jason Tatum, staring him down, and following him into the Celtics area and bench isn't enough. That's ridiculous because like that just objectively doesn't make any sense. How those two things previously would be a tech and that second one wouldn't be a tech. And if you want to say none of them are techs, I agree with you. But you can't call Marcus Smart talking to his teammates for a tech and then Draymond Green walking into the opposing team's bench area and staring him down, not a tech, right? Like that's ridiculous. And then on top of that, I saw a bunch of stuff on Twitter. Tony Brothers charged Ime Udoka. You can't incite shit. You're supposed to de-escalate situations, and you're starting the situation like that.
I didn't
What?
see this, but like in my mind, I have, and I don't want to see it because I now I have it like a
I don't have a
an image
video,
in
but
my mind
that's what.
that's
Yeah.
like Tony Brothers like ready to murder somebody, and to me that's funny. One, I hope they bring in Scott Foster because he rules, and uh, statistically, he's like the best official. Like statistically, he gets like the most calls correct. But he
Who,
also has
Foster or
oh yeah,
Brothers?
Foster's fire.
Foster, yeah.
He's got the hype videos on Twitter that
Tony
I'll
Brothers
always
is an idiot.
no. Tony Brothers is
He's
like
awful. He's
he's the
horrendous.
villain, but Scott Foster's fire, and there's no getting
I don't
around
mind
it.
Scott Foster. He's
I
just
love
funny.
Scott
He's
Foster.
more a meme than me
He
complaining,
has
but
leaned into people knowing who he is, and it's the best thing ever. And if you don't like Scott
yes.
Foster, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no, I don't really care about Scott Foster. He's more of a meme. Tony Brothers is horrendous, though. He's absolutely awful. And Udoka, when asked about it after the game about Brothers charging him, he said he didn't like that I pointed at him. And so Udoka pointed it. I can picture that in your head. Udoka pointing at Tony Brothers and Tony Brothers charging him, which is just not what you're like. You can't do that as a ref. Like, you can't initiate a situation like it was awful. And again, I'm gonna keep saying this just so it doesn't get misconstrued. That was not the reason the Celtics lost the game. They lost the game for themselves because they were bad. But those instances of refereeing was atrocious. And I think Keith said something like this. The fact that Tony Brothers can ref two finals games with the amount of refs they had, but not only that, but refs two finals games in the same city for the same home team. What? Like Tony Brothers just needs to be fired. Tony Brothers got to go. He's awful, regardless of winning or losing, home bias, etc., etc. Obviously, not the reason the Celtics lost, and not an excuse for Celtics fans to complain. For the sake of the general NBA, Tony Brothers has to go. He's awful. He's terrible. It's ridiculous.
I think if you really want to like put out a solution for officiating, you should just have one
Release
crew
the
do the
stats.
no. You should just have one crew do the whole finals.
Sure, that's fine too.
Just have
Like
one crew do it.
assign.
That's what Major League Baseball does with the World Series. They have one umpire crew for the World Series. There's no reason why you need to have multiple crews. These dudes aren't out there like playing tackle football and need a week's rest. I'm
I can see
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
My
Like,
other thing
what do you need to rotate these guys for? Give me a break.
My other thing is you release the stats for all these players, the 2 minutes reports, all this stuff. Release the stats of what refs misses the most calls.
I
Like,
think
and I
they
understand
do.
that's in
I
they
think
don't
because
that's not public. It's not public.
I don't know why I've seen Scott Foster as the highest percentage out of everyone. Then,
I don't know
and
where
that
you
I
found
know
that.
for a fact I've seen.
I found stats of which refs have home and away biases. Like
No,
which stats,
there are
oh, what games
numbers
do that?
for home team against the
Yes, I've
spread,
seen
straight up. Like
those.
there's all that stuff. No, like there's legitimate statistics that I have seen. I don't know
What
where.
is it called?
I
What
don't
can I
know. I
look
don't
up?
remember. I saw it on
NBA
Twitter,
referee statistics.
and I
Maybe I'll
saw
Google on
like
Twitter.
he has the highest percentage of correct calls. Scott Foster. He is objectively, statistically, the best official.
Scott Foster correct calls. Maybe if I could put that in Twitter, it'll come up. Yeah, no, okay. I just wanna find the stats because I think it'd
Let's
be
see.
interesting, but
I'm gonna Google this now. Which
I mean, it's
NBA
not important, it's just me getting mad at Tony Brothers, and again, not why Celtics lost. I'm going to keep saying that, but
wins?
it's just I don't know. It's very frustrating to watch him make it a ref show every 2 seconds because he likes the airtime. Yeah,
What
it's
is
just
this? Hold on.
yeah, crazy. Alright, what are you Googling?
D- this is it's I googled which NBA
Uh-oh.
referees are most accurate.
Say that again? Oh,
I said which
okay, okay,
NBA
okay.
referees are
I
most accurate. Is this it?
NBA
Is this it right
referees.
here?
We're just this is we've gone down a dark rabbit hole at this point.
This is not
I
it.
found
I don't
something
know.
on Reddit, but
I
it says
swear to God, I
temporary
saw it on
unavailable.
Twitter.
I believe you. I believe you. It's not important at this point, but anyways, I really don't have much else to say. I've said everything. Stop turning the ball over. Stop, like, and I'll steal your word again. Stop being the absolute worst, and you win a game.
Yeah,
And that's
literally
basically
don't
it.
be the worst. Don't be the absolute worst. Don't
Yeah.
like be the worst you could possibly be. And you would be up 3-2 or you'd have already won. And
Yeah.
it's not rocket science, man. It's really not. Like this team is capable of more than they are showing right now, which is the frustrating part. There's getting beat
Yes.
and being the inferior team, and that is not the case right now. Golden State deserves credit. Hell yes. They have taken every chance they have been given. They took advantage in game 4 when the Celtics let them hang around the entire game. They took advantage yesterday in game 5 when the Celtics didn't close out the third quarter and they lost a 5-point lead in the closing minutes of that quarter and then never looked back. And not to mention the whole first half that they I mean, me, you, Tim, and KJ could have went out there and played just as well.
The first quarter was the worst part.
Yeah.
Like you said, the second quarter
I think
wasn't
the
too
second
bad,
quarter was
but
actually a good quarter. It was just annoying that they lost it.
yeah, it wasn't bad. Anyways,
That's another
um,
instance. Like you were like kind of good in the second quarter, but you were bad enough to where you were playing great defense and you got it to 6 and you went
the
into half
shots
down
just weren't
12.
there. The shot just wasn't there. Like they were getting good looks, and that was the main thing. It was just it wasn't falling. Anyways, we appreciate you guys for listening. Hopefully, we'll have a
I mean, we'll
podcast
have one.
after game 6. We'll have one after game
Hopefully it'll
6.
be a
It'll
happy
just
podcast.
yeah. Hopefully, we're talking about game 7 and not talking about the off season. Because I know Sam's dreading the day that we have to start talking about the draft because that is coming, Sam. The
Dude,
draft is in
well,
9 days.
I've watched a fair amount of college this year.
You've probably watched more than me. The difference is you've probably watched more than me, and I've probably done
Oh,
more
you've
research.
researched. I
That's what.
researched research. I never studied a day of my life. That's true.
All right, I believe you. I was similar in school, but I enjoy
Thought it was a
being a
waste of
nerd
time.
about drafts. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Follow From Rafters Pod on Twitter, and I'll throw it up to Sam.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you're probably on YouTube, watching on Guy Boston or Bannertown. If you are, make sure you leave us a like and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all the newest pods and also our pregame streams where they're now on Facebook again, which is pretty great.
Yes, sir.
And we're live before every game, a half hour. We've done the halftime streams, which I argue are better than the pregame streams because I'm always fired up on the halftime stream. I'm always upset regardless. Like they could be
Halftime's fun.
winning, and I come in and I'm just like, dude, like they should be up 30. And half the time that's true. It's still
I
true
know.
with all the things they do right. They still do all like these dumb things. Regardless, if you're listening on some streaming service, make sure you follow the pod. That way you get all the newest episodes. And Jack's been real consistent tweeting them from the new pod account or the revived pod account from Rafters Pod.
Yep.
You'll get all of them there. We'll retweet them. So if you want that, you can follow Jack at Jack's Money NBA. He's retweeting the pod. He's writing articles. He's doing all of it. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. I complain a lot, write the occasional article now, and getting into like a rehab for laziness. And that's our show for today. Bye.
Tic-tac-toe.